Hi there fellas, welcome to Sketchbook Session number 5. I don't even know at this point. It's been a while. I've been a little bit inactive, but I've been resting and getting over art burnout, so that's always fun. Today, I'm gonna keep it real simple. I just wanted to sketch my sketchbook, and I need a video for this week, so that kind of kills two birds with one stone. I'm sorry, birds. But my goal today is just to maybe fill 1 or 2 pages with some boys, because I never draw boys and I'm a little rusty. So let's get into it. Let's practice drawing some boys and maybe provide a couple updates on the channel. So as you might have noticed, it's been a little while since I've sort of done the video every week thing, and that's mostly because I've discovered that I actually, at least at this point in time, don't prefer that video format. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to ever do a video every week, but I think for now, I've just discovered that putting something out around every 2 weeks is probably what's going to work best for me. And the main reason for that isn't because, like, I can't handle a video every week, but more so, like, putting out a video every 2 weeks really gives me a chance to put out something that I like a little bit better. Because I'll be honest, like, around, I guess, April or so, and maybe into May a little bit, some of the stuff I put out just, like, I wasn't really a big fan of. My heart wasn't in it, and I was just kind of forcing myself to put out ideas really quickly, just to, like, get something out. And that's, like, not really ever what I intended for my channel. I kind of want to do stuff that I enjoy. Like, whenever I first went on a longer break from YouTube, like, whenever I started doing it 2 years ago, I just put out speed paints and stuff. I kind of stopped for a while because I was like, you know what, this is so boring, just doing like speed paints all the time, and my computer was terrible, so I couldn't really like edit or do anything more than just a speed paint. Like, I used Movie Maker, it was just terrible. So that's why I stopped doing YouTube then, because I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna put a hold on this until I can like put out stuff that I actually am proud of and that I enjoy working on. And I'm making a similar decision now, so just like probably expect content from me more so every 2 weeks rather than every week. And I'm hoping that through doing that I can sort of make some stuff that I enjoy making a little bit more, and I can put a little bit more thought into it, and it just gives me some breathing room to also work on some longer projects and videos, because some stuff, like with my schedule right now, I'm in college, I have like other work, I've started doing commissions again, just to pick up some, you know, extra cash on the side. So it's just a lot to put out a video every week, and not be able to spend as much time on them as I would like to. So that's sort of where I am now, and if you haven't seen me upload as much, that is the reason why. And I'm hoping that at some point I can get back to that every week schedule, or at least, you know, upload a little bit more frequently. But for now, I think this is sort of what works for me. And for those of you who are around at this point in time, let's see, I believe it was like the fall and winter of 2020. This is sort of what my upload schedule was like. I would do more so every 2 weeks. And it seemed to work for me a lot better than what I'm doing now. The every week thing actually worked for me pretty well during the beginning of 2021, but once I got kind of busy and I didn't have as much stuff sort of like in a backlog, it started to stop working for me as well. And I also kind of just, I'm more interested in working on like longer projects and putting more effort into things. And one of the things I've also discovered is I just kind of like hate most of the YouTube formats that like are really traditional. Like, I hate recording an intro and outro for every video. They always end up being too long, and I hate editing them, and I hate like the very YouTube personality that I feel like a lot of people feel pressure to put on whenever they're making content on this platform. It's just like, it just doesn't feel genuine at all, and it's not what I ever wanted my content to be, but I just felt like I was slipping into doing that a little bit, because like doing advertisements and stuff, I haven't found like a different way to do ads. Like I feel like I'm slowly figuring it out, but it is a little bit difficult to like make an art video and then like shoehorn an ad in. But you know, I do need to be making money off of this if I'm gonna spend so much time on it. So ads are a thing that I'm gonna be doing, but I'm gonna see if I can find like more creative ways to do them instead of just doing the traditional thing, because the main thing is like I want to have fun with this channel and I want to create like art, you know? I don't want to just like make the same video over and over again. I feel like sometimes people tend to fall into that, especially with like art YouTube. Sometimes I feel like I don't watch a lot of art YouTube anymore because I feel like some of it is getting very repetitive. And there's a lot of people who are doing really interesting things with like art on YouTube, and I tend to gravitate towards their stuff more just because obviously it's just more entertaining, it's more interesting, and I kind of want to watch that stuff rather than the usual like get a product from a company and then try it out and tell people whether or not you like it. I've never been a fan of doing that. I find it to be just a little bit stale, and I just want to make stuff that I like and that you guys like as well. But, you know, I want to actually create stuff that I consider to be, like, art and entertainment, I guess. But, you know, to each your own. Like, if you enjoy certain kinds of content, that's absolutely great. I know a lot of that content people find to be very, like, relaxing and peaceful. But I don't have the kind of personality where I relax by watching like really calm ASMR type videos. I've never really been like that, so I don't really gravitate towards that content. Like the content I watch in my own time is mostly like commentary videos and like meme stuff, and that's sort of what I find relaxing somehow. So that's more so the stuff that I like to make because I just think it's like fun and goofy and lighthearted, and I enjoy it. So I'm still trying to find a way to work, you know, maybe some like humor into my content, but also try not to force it too much, because that's also like whenever you make art videos and you kind of throw humor into them, I feel like there's an expectation eventually that like all of your art videos are going to be funny. And I like most of my videos to at least like not necessarily be like funny, but be like lighthearted and enjoyable to watch, and like less like this purely educational experience and more like, okay, I'm watching, you know, someone make something and there's hiccups along the way, and like let's not take ourselves too seriously here because we're just making goofy stuff on the internet kind of thing. So that's, I guess, a summary of where I'm heading with the channel probably in the remainder of 2021. And I'm also working on finishing up my degree. This is my second associate's degree. And I'm not taking too many classes now, but I'm probably planning on taking more classes in the next couple of semesters. So I think that the schedule is generally going to work better for that as well, because whenever, you know, I have a bigger class load, I'm going to have less time to devote to videos. So I think that overall this is going to be a better direction for me, and if I get my subscribers used to the schedule now, it'll feel less like I'm depriving them of content whenever I physically just cannot upload as much. So I just wanted to quickly update some people on that. So if you're wondering where I am or sort of what my plans are, I'm not like, I'm here, I'm still doing YouTube. And I'm still considering myself to do it regularly. My schedule has just changed. And my upload days are still probably going to be Fridays for the foreseeable future. So if you're wondering when I upload and like when you can catch me, my normal upload time is at 10:30 a.m. on Fridays, and that's Central Time. So that's, if you're looking for my content, that's when you can find new stuff. So now to some actual drawing stuff. Right now, I hope you can see this well enough. My camera angles are always like kind of a mess, but this is, oh goodness gracious. This is what we're working with here. And I'm very sorry because, oh, it's out of focus now. You know, we're just keeping it casual again. That's all we're doing. I'm still trying to get my sketchbook session filming set up sort of right, but I haven't invested in a new tripod yet, so we're just gonna kind of deal with this for now. But this character is named Knight. Well, his real name is something else, but that's kind of a spoiler for the purposes of this comic. So I am not going to tell you what his actual name is. Fun stuff. But he is one of the main characters of my old comic Nightfall, and even though I'm not like really planning on making it at the moment, I still find that Nightfall is one of the projects that kind of slips into my mind the most and I kind of think about and still develop, even though at the moment I have no plans to like actually finish it and come up with new stuff anytime soon. Like, I would like to eventually, but at this point I feel like it's just the kind of story that is gonna take a little bit more effort and time and planning and actually good writing to tell, and I just don't have like the writing experience at the moment, I'll be honest. So before I like write anything, I feel like I'm just gonna need to practice writing, and that's something that is hard to find time to do at the moment, you know, because I spend so much time doing art and like other stuff, and I've been into exercising recently because I don't move my body unless I like force myself to go exercise, so that's been nice. Shouts out to Chloe Ting. I've been doing her workouts recently and they're actually really fun, and they've given me like something that I can do at home because I'm not really a gym person. I don't like that. But back to Nightfall, I still enjoy drawing these characters a lot, and I don't know, I still think about it a lot, and part of me really just like wants to make it, but I know that I don't have the writing chops at the moment, so just been watching a lot of like stuff on YouTube about writing and all the subtlety and techniques that go into it. So hopefully one day I can maybe do something with the story, because this is a story that's like unusual for me in that I kind of have something I want to say with the whole story, and it has sort of an overall overarching theme and meaning, which is not something that's really happened in any of my other projects. Like, I have maybe one other, like there's always themes that are happening, but this one has a very overarching theme that just kind of emerged organically as I was writing and conceptualizing some of the parts of the story. So, and like I have the story planned out in my head, like I kind of know the big plot points. I know the general arc of the 3-act structure of the story, but as I'm not the most talented writer, it's been hard to kind of put it in writing and make good dialogue and characterization and character arcs, and you know, I'm just learning how truly difficult it is to like make a very good piece of literature. And as I want to make this a comic, it's like another hurdle, because even though I've made comics in the past, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily like super good. So I have limited experience with this medium in general, and it's been a while since I've read comics recently. Wow, that didn't make sense. It's been a while since I've read comics in general. And just because I'm not a big reader, like I spend so much time like drawing and sort of like doing that creative side of things, like whenever I want to rest, or I just kind of like to turn my brain off. But I do some reading here and there. Like I like reading A Song of Ice and Fire, and I've read all the Lord of the Rings books and Hobbit books. Like my reading is very much like fantasy based. If it's not fantasy, I probably am not going to read it. So in terms of comics, like I really just read like manga and I guess some webcomics. I read Off-White for a really long time. I love that comic. I actually stayed updated with it, but I never really got into like the reading webtoons or anything thing, just because like I'm more of like a TV person. Like if I'm gonna spend my time I guess, watching stuff. Well, I'm not good at speaking today. If I'm gonna spend my time absorbing media, I normally opt for television and not so much movies. Like, I watch a lot of TV shows. Like, I've been very into Breaking Bad recently. And, like, I know I've been, like, shoehorning random Breaking Bad references into my videos just because, like, the memes for that series are, like, kind of good. They're pretty spicy, if I do say so myself, so I just throw a couple Breaking Bad memes in here and there, even though I'm, like, 10 years late to that. But it's a very good show. If you want a show that's, like, a very druggy in, like, the best possible way, and the writing is, like, absolutely, like, it's exquisite. The dialogue is, like, wonderful. The setup and everything is so good. Like, I feel like I'm learning a lot about writing just from watching Breaking Bad, which, is that cheesy to say? I feel like it's a little cheesy to say. Like, wow, Breaking Bad is just the pinnacle of television, but it's a good show. I'm enjoying it a lot. So that's sort of like where my brain has been focused recently. And I feel like his arms are too short, but I feel like what we're going through right now is you're getting to see the uglier parts of my creative process. And I'm also now looking at the recording, and it's been like 15 minutes and I haven't even come up with like a very good sketch. And yeah, so you can see the rougher side of my art here. I've been talking about wanting to be more vulnerable whenever I draw things, and you're really just seeing that right now, right here. So yes. I'm just like been all over the place with my talking, so I hope that you guys enjoy that, because if you don't, I'm sorry. I can't stay on one subject. I do this all the time, even in voiceover. It's like, it annoys myself at this point. But I'll tell you a little bit about this character, but not too much, because I don't want to spoil like everything. Basically this comic takes place partially like in modern day Japan and partially in some alternate universes, and the universes are sort of loosely based on Norse mythology. So but I've modified it a little bit, like I've added in some things. It's not like fully Norse mythology, but a lot of the mythology that I've based my characters and some of the plots around are like a weird mix between Japanese mythology and Norse mythology. And if that sounds weird to you, it's because it absolutely is. But it's been a lot of fun to write. For some reason, I feel like some of these myths kind of work well together, if you can say that. There's a couple in particular that I'm just like a big fan of how they sort of overlap. And you know, in this particular universe, things are just a little like weird, and I think that's a lot of fun. But this particular character is from a different universe, like a parallel world, I guess you would say, and he ends up in modern day Japan. Wow. In another world, what is that called again? The anime trope. I made this comic before that was even like popular, and then it got popular and people were like making fun of it, and I was like, oh no, this is terrible. People are gonna make fun of my dumb comic now. But they didn't make fun of it because it was the other world. People made fun of it because it was pretty dumb, and the first chapter isn't that good. But anyways, he's from a different universe. He's a fantasy boy. He's a knight, as his name implies, and he has a friend who is a dragon. They're not just friends, he's like knight's partner in this universe. Whenever you're part of like the elite knight squad, you have a mythical creature bound to you, and they're like your animal companion, like how Appa is for Aang in Avatar, or like how Naga is for Korra, that kind of vibe. But whenever these two people end up in the normal human world, his dragon friend is put into human form for a specific reason that I'm not going to spoil. So you have Knight, and then you have his buddy Corey, and it's funny and very well thought out because Kori means like ice and cold in Japanese, and he's an ice dragon. Wow. Very, like, it's so big brain, you might not even realize how big brain it is. So these guys are fun and goofy, and I love drawing them, and their designs are like an absolute shipwreck, but I still enjoy them a lot, and I feel like I've shown them in other videos. Like if you go back to my first few like speed paints on this channel, it's all like Nightfall stuff, so you can see what they look like, but they've changed a little bit since then, and I guess I'm trying to still like nail their builds down a little bit. Like, this is overall just very rough. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm gonna put this on YouTube because I don't like it. In an effort to make the art for this video marginally better, I've moved my camera position a little bit, and I'm leaning my table up so that there's less foreshortening whenever I draw. Because that's why this guy looks so terrible. I also am not warmed up, and that's another reason why this guy looks so terrible. Like, honestly, if I'm being just super honest, I'm probably gonna cover this up at the end of the video and redraw it, and this isn't even gonna be here by the end because I'm not happy with this. But let's continue. So I guess I'm gonna draw Kori next, and like maybe try to make him look like less of an abomination. But as you can see, there's a reason why I'm practicing drawing guys in this video, because I'm not good at it. Like, if I have more time to sort of like mess around, then sure, I can probably draw a male looking person who looks male and regular. But this is not one of those days. I feel like I'm just like not warmed up with drawing at all right now. And I'm kind of going fast, I don't know, but I think this is an important video because you can see how pretty bad my art is sometimes. And if I don't like it, I usually just cover it up. And I think it's okay to do that. Like, if you make something bad that you just think is terrible and you don't like to look at it, you can burn it or cover it up. Like, a lot of people are like, don't do that, be proud of what you draw, you're gonna want to look back at it later and you won't think it's as bad. I think that's great, and I think if you're someone who's capable of doing that, like, absolutely go for it. Like, my dude, just live your truth. But my truth is covering things up whenever I don't like them, and the internet's gonna just have to deal with it because I'm not feeling this sketch of Night right now. And I really hope that this sketch of Kori turns out better, because I will cry 1,000 tears if it does not. And while I really should have silenced my phone, but did I? No. Am I? Probably not. My pen is in my hand and I'm going, so. So let's talk about Kori for a minute. Let's talk about Dragon Boy. He's a very good Dragon Boy. He has slight Targaryen energy, and it's a total coincidence because I hadn't even seen Game of Thrones whenever I created him, but he for sure could have been a Targaryen. Like, he has blue hair and blue eyes, but that is the main difference, because he has that personality. I would say minus the vengeance and the bloodlust. I would say that is the only thing about him, but he gives off like Rhaegar vibes a little bit. So, and I've forgotten what his hair looks like at this point. I don't think that's what his hair looks like, because I've changed it recently, and I think this is wrong. But like, again, this is my video, and if I'm gonna draw my character's hair wrong, I'm gonna do it. So again, I'm just living my truth. And I've expressed in the past in like YouTube, what are they called whenever it's in the, is it the community tab? I think it's the community tab. I've expressed in the community tab that sketchbook sessions kind of make me like a little bit angry. Like, they make me ill a little bit, because I don't always enjoy it. Today I'm just in the mood to do this and be a little chaotic with it, so I'm enjoying this right now. But in the past, the last couple sketchbook sessions I've done, like, heart has not been in it, and everyone can tell. Everyone's just like, girl, we get it. You don't like this, and that's okay. But I'm still gonna do it sometimes, but I think that everyone should just start expecting something more along the lines of this, where I draw this and it's less good than usual. But I think it's fun to just like struggle with someone sometimes. A lot of times people are like, I like your sketchbook sessions because it's like I'm drawing with someone. So now you can struggle with someone, and it makes it even more close to what the experience of drawing with someone is. Because whenever I draw with friends, it's kind of just like, oh no, I messed up the hand, man, the face looks terrible, and so on and so forth. So instead of being nervous about making stuff that's good, like this arm is too long. Or is it? I don't, this arm is too long. I'm standing by it. And I think it's just like okay to make things that look bad sometimes. You don't have to make everything you ever draw look good or like finished, you know? That's something I run into with my sketchbooks. I think I was gonna tell you guys about Corey. We're gonna take a little break from that for just a minute to talk about how I have fear of sketchbooks not looking nice and people not clicking on sketchbook tours whenever I make them, because I want my sketchbooks to look nice. And I'm trying to get over that a little bit, because sketchbooks are supposed to look bad sometimes. Sketchbooks can't all look nice. You can't, like, when you go on Instagram and people are flipping through their sketchbook and everything looks so good and polished and there's like finished paintings. They made a deal with the demon. I'm gonna tell you right now. They're doing something illegal when they do that, and I think that sometimes you just have to put out something that doesn't look good, and people, I think, will relate to you more for it. That's what I'm gonna start living by. So yeah, just prepare yourselves for some art that's like, what was going through her mind when she created that, you know? What's going through my mind right now is that it's hard to draw men sometimes. Like, what is their anatomy sometimes? Like, guys. And they're so lanky. Where are the hips? Where are the hips? I can't draw something without hips, I've learned. The center of gravity is so much harder to find whenever there's not, like, some hips. Like, there's still hips. Like, I've overpronounced these hips because I gotta find a place to anchor the pose somehow, and still, it doesn't look natural. They're just standing. It's like watching a CBS cop show. Everyone's just standing around and they're not doing anything, and there's no life at all whatsoever. That's what's happening here, and I need to learn how to pose my characters better in sketchbooks, I think. And I also need to actually narrow down the character designs for these boys, because this is like, I don't know what's going on here. What is this? I kind of like this, but it looks like flames and he's an ice dragon. So like, I don't understand. And what's this? I don't get this. So I might change this whole thing actually, but we'll see. We'll see here. I'm probably gonna make someone seasick with how much I'm moving this table right now. I was gonna tell you guys about Corey. Let's just jump right in here. I'm gonna make this a little better, maybe. I just looked at it and I was like, kind of looks worse actually, but I think it's gonna be better. Okay. I'm not being at all careful with my strokes with this pen right now, and it shows. Okay, here we go. Alright, so Corey is a dragon, like I said, and he's knights. We call it summonings in the universe of this thing, because they're like tied together in their auras, and like
he summons like weapons and powers using Corey's magic, because dragons have magic in this universe and regular people don't like innately have magic most of the time. Like some people do, some people don't, but most normies like Knight don't. He just has a strong aura so that he can like connect with someone else's aura and use their magic. So they use dragons and like fancy beastie people for that. And they're militarized because Knight's kingdom, like many governments, is a little bit terrible and corrupt. And it's like maybe not cool that they're doing this. So that's a plot as well. But Corey, he's like he's kind of an icy boy. Look at this mouth I just drew. Will you zoom in in post and look at this? This is not good. I'm gonna have to redraw this whole face. Let's see if we can fix it. But he's an ice dragon, and he's just, I don't know if it looks better or worse. He's sort of like sarcastic, and he's just kind of a chill guy. Get it? Because he's an ice dragon? Wow. I don't know, maybe that's the best description I have for this character. But he's the most logical one of my main trio in this story, and he's sort of the voice of reason most of the time. He's got some of the most, like, I guess, logical and tactical abilities, because when this trio is fighting, they need someone who's gonna, like, actually know how to fight in a smart way, because the other two are like, alright, let's just go in and be stupid. And he's like, hold on a second, I'm a dragon, so I know best. Okay, so that's sort of what his deal is. He's also everyone's emotional support dragon, so he's very good at talking to people about emotions, even though he's not a very emotional person. He's a very empathetic person somehow, even though he doesn't feel strong emotions himself. I don't know, he's a dragon, so he's just like, he's wise and stuff, you know? He's a teenage dragon, and I think that's just so cool for him. So that's like what his deal is. And they're like best buds, they're the bros, and they have all the bromance. I love them. And it's also funny, I don't know if it's funny or like really, really freaky and terrifying, but Corey also kind of acts like a dog, kind of, because like he's a dragon, and of course dragons act like dogs, we know this. So he kind of like sleeps in weird places, and he eats like raw meat and stuff, and it's like everyone around him is like, I thought you were a person. Why are you behaving like this? So that's sort of like comedic relief. Funny, is it I don't know. Alright, let's move on. This is too long now. Alright, now I'm gonna try to draw one that is actually good. We'll see if I succeed in that at all. But this character is from another story. I believe I've mentioned him in a somewhat recent video. But his name is Jordan, but he goes by the name Ratchet because he's a mechanic and he has a really weird sense of humor. But he lives in like a weird sci-fi post-apocalyptic kind of society, and he is an orphan, and he was adopted sort of by an alien guy. Fun stuff. And they just like hang out and they like bounty hunt, and he like fixes people's ships for money and they have a good time. So that's sort of what this character is all about. But I enjoy him a lot. I think he's a funny dude. And he's like very inspired by Miles Morales. From like the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. He's just and also like the Spider-Verse films. Like I made him before I was like super into Miles Morales, because the Spider-Verse films hadn't come out yet, but I think that he's just like a fun guy. He's a little different, and I haven't drawn him in a while, so I'm a little bit rusty, but And I really already am sort of really not a fan of this pose, but again, I think it's important to occasionally draw things that aren't that good and then post them on the internet. So I guess I don't want to tell too much of Jordan's story either, like maybe some of it, but I can tell a little bit of it. But basically in his story, he is from Earth, but Earth is like destroyed because the people who run Earth are really stupid, and they think that they're more powerful than all of the other forces in the galaxy, and they pick a bunch of fights that like they obviously cannot win, and then people just come along and they like blow up Earth. So Earth is gone, which I think is a fun way to begin a story like this, because like unfortunately I feel like it is a little bit accurate, you know? Like people on Earth can be a little dumb sometimes, but there are survivors, of course, like people evacuated, so the human population is like not huge, but it's significant enough to like keep the species going, you know? And he managed to escape, so he's off doing space things. He's just a spaceman, you know what I mean? Again, this pose could be better. It could be a lot better. I did not plan this out well enough. But just let this be a lesson to you all. Maybe plan your drawings when you make them. But I kind of like drawing with ballpoint pen like this sometimes. It just ends up being like really messy and like kind of an eyesore, but adds a lot of character, I think. But yeah, Jordan has a fun, kind of goofy relationship with this alien guy who sort of adopted him. And they just sort of get themselves into all kinds of predicaments and situations. And Ratchet has a good heart, so he's just like, even though he's a bounty hunter, he likes to convince Diesel, who is his buddy, alien buddy, to sort of like do jobs for free and just help people out when he can. And his alien friend is kind of like, alright kid, we've got to stop helping people for free. We have like bills to pay and fuel isn't cheap. We have to fly all around the galaxy, so like we should maybe start actually charging money for our services. But he's just like, come on man, the galaxy is it's a dangerous place. A lot of people are in a tough spot, so like let's just help some people out. We can afford it. And Diesel very reluctantly is like, okay fine, whatever. But it's quite wholesome, and it's just a fun story. Like I feel like if I were to ever do anything with it, it's like co-written sort of by a friend of mine who she came up with Diesel's character. So if I ever did make it a thing, I would probably need my co-writer on board. But it would be fun to make sort of one-shot episodes, or like, you know, little one-shot comics about different situations that they get themselves in and try to get themselves out of. So yeah, I'm still very attached to this story in a lot of ways. And if I ever were to make it a thing, I think it would be like an interesting story to write. Because I am not used to writing like sci-fi basically. Because this universe is very much sort of like sci-fi, Star Wars, like Guardians of the Galaxy type stuff, where there's just like a lot of weird stuff, and some of the fun of it is just like discovering some of the world building and the weird stuff. I feel like it could also be very inspired by like The Mandalorian, because Same with that. I think a lot of the fun in that show comes from just discovering weird stuff in the world building. So this actually might be a good project to like practice writing or making some comics on, because the lore isn't that difficult. It's very much based in what people already know sci-fi to be. So I feel like there's like interesting new world building to be had, but the basis of this universe I feel like is very familiar. I feel like there could be a lot of room for like, you know, pastiche and satire and stuff like that. I feel like some of it could feel a little bit Rick and Morty, but like not nearly as disgusting and like terrible, because I used to like watch Rick and Morty a lot, but I just can't anymore. Like some of the stuff, it's just like people can go too far very easily, and it's just like I don't want to like watch a show sometimes and just feel gross. And that's sort of like what started happening with Rick and Morty, and I was like, it's just, you feel gross when you watch it. And I think that you can have like adult comedy and humor without making your viewers feel like totally gross. So that might be sort of the basis for this. And especially when you have child characters, like, I mean, like, I get it. That's like the whole thing. Like, oh my gosh, you can never do that with child characters. It's like so edgy, but like, again, some of it's just gross and it's not funny. So that's the tea. There it is. I don't like Rick and Morty anymore because it was gross from the beginning, and it just continued to push it till it was too gross for me to watch. So there you have it. But that's who this little fella is. I really like him. I think he's probably one of my favorite characters I've ever created, and he has big Spider-Man and Miles Morales energy. So, and I think I'm liking this pose a little bit better now. As you can see, like, I'll edit this a little bit. I have like these sketch lines that are just, it's pen, so they stay there, and it doesn't look perfect or clean, but I think it adds a little character to things. So if you are practicing using ballpoint pens to sketch, and you mess up a little bit when you're sketching, and you have these lines and you're just like, oh man, I don't know what to do with them, or they just look a little bit bad, don't worry about it. It'll get easier as you use your pen. And most of the time I have these lines and I don't do anything to cover them up or anything. They're there and it's fine. You don't have to make everything look perfect. And that's as much for me to hear as it is for anyone else, because I've been working on that little sketchbook that I made, the homemade sketchbook, and I've fallen into that a lot with that, just like trying to sort of make finished work in it, which was kind of part of my goal whenever I started working on that sketchbook. Like, I want there to be finished work, but it's gotten a little bit to the point of like, I wish that I had just sketched a little bit more on each page instead of tried to like make paintings on each page, because a lot of it is like acrylic painting, and it's been fun. I feel like I've improved my acrylic painting a lot just with that one little sketchbook, but I feel the pressure to make too many of the pages just straight up acrylic paintings, or like add color of some sort. So it's okay to just kind of leave stuff rough sometimes, and it still can look nice. Like, I think this is an okay sketch. I think he looks a little bit too old. Oh hi, here's my face. But we have him, and I think we're just gonna do a couple more things to finish this up. Maybe a couple more doodles. I might do some of it off screen for the sake of time, but let's do at least one more. I think here I'm gonna try to draw Paul, and maybe Rambler, maybe not Rambler. I struggle to find poses for Paul that are more expressive, because he's very much like a neutral character, and he is the exact kind of person who's gonna stand with his hands in his pockets and just like look real uninterested in things, because he's like very shy and emo. So I feel like almost all of the poses that I have of this character look like that. So maybe I can see if I can come up with something a little bit better. Just something that's gonna be, I guess, a little bit more representative of the character. Like, I'm not too concerned, because posing a character is all about showing character, right? And if it's accurate to how he is, then again, not too concerned, but I don't want to slip into using Paul and the fact that he is emo and he doesn't pose much as like a crutch. Already I feel like I'm not doing the best job here. Let's see, maybe he can kind of be like startled or something. I don't know. I think it's safe to say at this point that I don't really like a lot of the sketches that I've made on this page. I'd say these two are the ones that I like the most, but I feel like just using the ballpoint pen all the time has made me make things a little bit rougher than I would maybe like sometimes. It's good for some things. It's good for like learning how to draw faster, and it's good for paying more attention to your lines that you're making. But I feel like in some ways I've hit this sort of wall with using the ballpoint pen occasionally, where I'm paying less attention to some of the lines that I'm making, which defeats the purpose in some aspects. So, whoops, but that's okay. We're being vulnerable with these pages, remember? And if they don't look great, that's okay. Because I'm probably gonna cover them up later. No, I would never do such a thing. I probably will. This is a slightly less neutral pose for Paul. Maybe he's looking over his shoulder a little bit. Part of this is I'm just not good at finding a good, I guess I would call it a center of gravity or something for male characters. Because like with female characters who have like larger hips or some curve to them, you can kind of use that hip area as a base to sort of rotate the body and make things look a little bit more dynamic. But I have not learned how to do that with male characters as much. I feel like male characters look pretty stiff whenever I draw them on average. Unless I'm spending like a decent amount of time, or it's digital where I have just more control, I can erase more and tweak things more, and you know. But yeah, I guess that's sort of one of the things I need to work on whenever I'm drawing male presenting characters. They're just kind of hard. I feel like people already have noticed this a lot, but in terms of artists on the internet, you tend to fall into a category of like drawing mostly male characters or mostly female characters. And then you have those people in the middle who, it's kind of hard to define, but like it's a weird mix, but there's definitely like their characters tend to appear more masculine or more feminine depending on who it is. So I feel like right now my characters definitely have more of a feminine quality to them, so. Drawing kind of muscular, masculine guys like these two fellas over here is just not really my strong suit at the moment. I feel like drawing boys like Paul and Randler is a little bit easier for me, but even so, I'm kind of out of practice with my cartoony style. Like, this face I'm not a big fan of. It's not terrible, but I think, you know, I'm also going too fast. You know what I mean? I am just like exposing myself with this sketchbook session, I think. What if I called this sketchbook session like making art that I don't like or something? I feel like everyone would come for me and be like, oh my gosh, stop saying that about your art, it's fine. I want everyone to know it is fine. I don't like viscerally hate any of this. I just hate it a little bit, so. Let's do one more. I think let's just draw a headshot maybe of Randler, and I'm gonna see if I can just focus more on the facial features and making him look like himself. Because some of these characters just don't look like themselves. Like, I don't mind Knight's face entirely, it's just the way it's foreshortened because I didn't have my drawing table at the level I like isn't necessarily my favorite thing. That's what I need, like a drafting table or something to do this on. I feel like I'm just not one of those people who can draw top down. At my new desk that I'm slowly trying to find a sketchbook session setup for, I have a stool that puts me pretty far above the surface of the desk, so I probably won't have foreshortening problems whenever I use that setup, but I also haven't really tried it out, so I'm just not sure. And it might be kind of difficult to film because I still haven't found it, and the tripods that they do have, I feel like I just might not be able to fit it, like, sort of behind my desk, or how I would need to be able to film upside down and then, like, kind of flip it. That's what a lot of people do. I know so many people just film on their phones, and I really wish I could do that. Like, my phone right now is terrible. Like, I have a first generation Google Pixel. It's like the one, and it's an extra large, but it's just kind of on its last legs. I mean, I hope it's not, but it's been dying at 40% most days. Even though I keep it on battery saver almost all the time, and I try to charge it often, it's just like not doing too great. And the camera inside of it isn't, like, the video I feel like is just 720p or something like that. I don't think that I could film good quality art videos on that. I wish that I could, but if I for some reason have to get a new phone soon, which it's approaching, I think I can feel it, you know. I feel like I might try to invest in something that has a good camera so that I can actually film sketchbook sessions on my phone, and just like traditional art videos on my phone. Like, the biggest reason I got a physical camera is because I was like, oh, I need to be able to film art videos, and like talking portions too, but mostly art videos. And now I'm realizing how difficult it is to do with a normal camera, and I just can't for the life of me figure out why people haven't found a way to manufacture a tripod for art stuff for a normal camera that's affordable. Like, the mounts on the standard camera don't really cater to it at all, and I think that's one of the biggest problems. But all of the ones that I've seen have been, like, really expensive, at least expensive for me, and I feel like they might not even work super well. Like, you have to put them in a very particular location for them to really work for recording even. So I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna get this and it's gonna be very limited and I'm gonna have to rearrange my room or something. So,
might not be the biggest fan of that.
alright, I still have some space and some time left. So, I think I'm gonna draw something here. I don't know what it's gonna be. We'll find out. That's a little better. I have all of these places in this video where I'm like, ugh, I messed up. Or I don't like the way the shot is framed. I'll just cut it out. And like, we all know I'm not gonna cut it out. So I'm very sorry if this video is rougher than some of my others, because I know it for sure will be. But that's okay, it happens. And I'm treating myself a little bit, because I drew 5 boys. It's a lot of boys. So I'm gonna draw a lady. Just shh, it's fine. I get to draw 1 lady per 5 boys. That is the rule. So here I'm gonna draw Erin. She's like the other member of this trio with Nightfall. She's actually basically the main character of this story. And the other 2 boys are sort of the secondary characters, but they're also pretty central to the story. Night especially. But also Corey, they're just, it's a trio. You can't separate them. You wouldn't have a story if you did. But Erin is kind of the central character that a lot of the story kind of builds around, so. And I've been trying to figure out a good design for her lately, in part, because like, for a protagonist, some of her design can be like kind of stale. And I like the way she looks, because I feel like she would be good at kind of, people would identify with her just because she's sort of that everyman character, but I also don't want her to like become a Kirito, because that's so lame, first of all. And I can do better than that. So she has like powers and stuff, so I've been kind of thinking about adding like a white streak to her hair and her bangs or something, and then down her hair, like when she gets her powers. I feel like that might be kind of interesting. Just add something to her visually. She's very much associated, one of the biggest things like I put on her casual outfits is art that sort of represents the painting of the wave. I don't know why, it's just something I started doing. I think it's kind of cute. So I might do some sort of wave looking stuff with her and her aesthetics, but she doesn't really have blue. Blue is not her main color in her color scheme. Her color in her color scheme is mainly sort of a rich, warmer purple. That's the color of her hair. That's the color of most of her outfits. Color is very important to the story. The entire power system, power system. Maybe? Yeah, that's probably the word. Is based around colors and the color wheel, because I am an art nerd, so they say write what you know, and it just so happens that I have Googled color theory before, and so that's what I have written for this story, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So I think it's like an interesting power system in general. Sure. I'm not upset with the fact that this power system is based around color theory, but again, like, I want to find some motifs for this character that fit with her colors a little bit better than maybe like waves or something. Because Knight is associated with like more fire and everything, because he's a redhead and he's a ginger boy and he's kind of like an inflammatory personality, like a hothead, literally. Wow, like his design is very on the nose, you know, which is funny because he also has a scar on his nose. Wow, this entire character is a pun, really. Words. So Corey is more like ice associated, of course, if it wasn't already obvious. And then Erin, I don't want to give away too much of her power, but I guess she would be most associated with like forces of nature symbolism, like the weather, waves, a lot of elements in general. And there's like a reason for that in the story, why she might have like more control over different elements than the other two would. But I want to find some motifs that are more specific to her. Because I like her design, I just think some of it can be kind of basic. And the beginning part of the story, when she's wearing this sort of like suit and vest get-up looking thing, is still set in Japan, so she has more like basic street clothes looking outfit on. But then there's a portion of the story where they're in the other like parallel universe realm, so she's gonna need a design that works well for there as well. So that's sort of what I'm coming up with for her. I used to have designs for all of these times and places for all of these characters, but I had this streak for a while in my designing where I would make everything way too complicated, and for a comic that's the last thing you need. You don't need the designs of your characters to be complicated at all, and for the most part you need the designs of especially your main characters to be, you know, easily drawn for everything that you would possibly need them to be drawn for. Does that make sense? I don't know. But I feel like these designs are pretty good. It's just some of the other stuff that I think would be difficult to draw over and over again. And I've gotten a little bit better at that now, because my characters, Orchid, Paul, and Randler, they have very basic designs, and they're very easy to draw over and over again. Even like their facial structure and stuff, which I still haven't really nailed down for these three. They kind of look different every single time I draw them, and I'm not super happy with that, but it is what happens. So here's the drawing so far, and I will be right back with a couple of changes, and I'll show you the finished results. I just remembered that I forgot to record any voiceover for this part of the video, so here's the finished sketches. I do like them a little bit more now. I just think I need to get better at adding some character to my poses and not making them so static. But if you watched this far, thank you for watching the video and dealing with me. If you did, comment struggles below so I know you watched it. Follow me on social media, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.